The gym was buzzing with energy as individuals pushed themselves on treadmills, lifted weights, and participated in fitness classes. It was a typical day until an unexpected figure entered the scene. Jason Statham, the renowned action star celebrated for his tough roles and remarkable fitness, walked into the gym dressed in a plain black hoodie and sweatpants. He remained calm and unobtrusive, blending into the surroundings. Most people didn't even notice him initially. However, that changed rapidly when a loud, overly confident trainer spotted him. This trainer, known for his brash demeanor, couldn't resist making fun of Jason. He ridiculed Jason's appearance and questioned whether he even knew how to work out. Little did the trainer realize that his comments would spark a moment that would leave everyone astonished. What transpired next was a lesson in strength, humility, and respect that no one in the gym would forget. The gym was one of the most frequented spots in the city, attracting fitness enthusiasts of all levels, from novices aiming to improve their health to professional athletes striving to maintain peak performance. The atmosphere buzzed with energy throughout the day. It featured a modern layout with rows of gleaming treadmills, neatly arranged dumbbells by weight, and machines designed to target every conceivable muscle group. Bright fluorescent lighting illuminated every corner, reflecting off the polished mirrors lining the walls. Among the regulars at this gym was Ryan, a personal trainer with a reputation for being both skilled and arrogant. Ryan was the type of person who thrived on attention. He sported the latest athletic gear, always ensuring his biceps were visible, and never hesitated to offer unsolicited advice, even when it was unwarranted. While he was undoubtedly knowledgeable about fitness, his cocky attitude often overshadowed his abilities. Many gym members avoided him, not because he was unkind, but due to his tendency to make sarcastic remarks and belittle those who were less experienced. One weekday afternoon, the gym was its usual lively self. The sounds of weights clanging, treadmills humming, and upbeat music playing over the speakers filled the air. Ryan was in his element, chatting loudly with a small group of gym-goers near the free weights section. He had just completed a set of bench presses and was soaking up the compliments from those around him when the front door quietly opened. Then walked Jason Statham, though no one recognized him at first. Dressed in a simple black hoodie and gray sweatpants, he blended in with the crowd. There were no flashy accessories, no entourage, and no indication that he was one of Hollywood's biggest action stars. Jason surveyed the gym, taking in the layout and equipment. His movements were calm and unassuming, as if he were just another individual looking for a good workout. But Ryan noticed him almost immediately. Jason appeared to be an easy target, someone he could mock to entertain the crowd and boost his own ego. Ryan's eyes lit up at the chance to showcase his wit and dominance. Jason found a quiet corner of the gym and began stretching, preparing for his workout. He ignored Ryan and the others, focusing solely on loosening his muscles and getting into the zone. But Ryan was determined to seize this opportunity. With a wide grin and a voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, Ryan made his move. "Hey, buddy," Ryan called out, his tone playful yet condescending. "You lost or something? This is a gym, not a library." Some gym members chuckled at Ryan's comment, though a few glanced at Jason with curiosity. Jason, however, did not respond. He continued his stretches, seemingly unfazed by Ryan's remark. This only encouraged Ryan to escalate things further. "Seriously," Ryan continued, walking closer to Jason, "are you sure you know what you're doing here? Those sweatpants make it look like you're here for yoga, not weights." The laughter grew louder, and Ryan puffed out his chest, relishing the attention. But Jason remained composed. He stood up from his stretch, looked Ryan in the eye, and simply said, "Just here to work out." This brief response caught Ryan off guard, but he quickly regained his composure. He saw Jason's calm demeanor as a challenge and decided to escalate the situation. After all, the gym was his territory, and he wasn't about to let some quiet newcomer steal the spotlight. And so the stage was set for what would become one of the most memorable days in the gym's history, a day when the concepts of strength, humility, and respect would be completely redefined. Ryan was not one to back down when he saw an opportunity to entertain the crowd, and he certainly wasn't going to let Jason's calm attitude deter him. The gym was his playground, and he thrived on the attention he received. After Jason's brief response, Ryan smirked and decided to turn up the heat. "All right, Mr. Silent Type," Ryan said loudly, ensuring everyone could hear him. "Let us see what you are made of. How about we start with something simple? Show us how you handle some dumbbells." Jason looked at Ryan, his expression calm and unreadable. He did not react to the provocation, nor did he seem intimidated by Ryan's confident tone. Instead, he nodded slightly and walked toward the dumbbell rack. The gym grew quieter as people began to notice the exchange. Some paused their workouts, curious to see how this interaction would unfold. Ryan followed closely, still speaking. "You know it's important to have the right technique. You don't want to embarrass yourself in front of all these people, do you?" His tone was dripping with sarcasm, and a few onlookers chuckled at his comment. Jason picked up a pair of medium-weight dumbbells, testing their balance in his hands. Without uttering a word, he began performing a series of perfectly controlled bicep curls. His form was impeccable, with his elbows close to his body, smooth movements, and steady breathing. Despite Ryan's mocking tone, Jason's focus remained entirely on the exercise. Ryan, however, was not impressed. "Come on, man," he said, shaking his head. "That is beginner stuff. You are not here to warm up all day, are you?" He grabbed a heavier set of dumbbells and began demonstrating an exaggerated version of the exercise, grinning as he did so. "This is how you do it. Watch and learn." Jason set down the dumbbells and looked at Ryan, still calm. "I am good, thanks," he replied simply, his voice steady and polite. But Ryan was not finished. He sensed the crowd's interest growing and wanted to keep their attention. All right, he said, raising his hands dramatically. "Maybe dumbbells are not your thing. Let us move on to something a little more serious. How about some deadlifts? Let us see if you can handle real weights." The gym was now fully focused on the interaction. People whispered among themselves, wondering if the quiet man in the hoodie would rise to the challenge or walk away. Jason glanced at the barbell setup that Ryan was pointing to. It was loaded with enough weight to challenge even the more seasoned lifters in the gym. Without a word, Jason walked over to the barbell. Ryan crossed his arms and leaned against a nearby machine, smirking as he watched. "You might want to be careful," he said. "That is not a lightweight barbell." "You sure you know what you are doing?" Jason positioned himself in front of the barbell, taking a moment to adjust his grip and stance. His movements were deliberate, almost methodical, as if he were blocking out everything around him. The gym fell completely silent, the tension in the air almost tangible. Then, with one powerful motion, Jason lifted the barbell off the ground, his form flawless. He held the weight steady for a moment before lowering it back down in a controlled manner. He repeated the motion several times, each lift as precise as the last. His strength and technique were undeniable, and the crowd began to murmur in astonishment. Ryan's smirk faltered. He had not anticipated Jason to lift the barbell so effortlessly, let alone with such perfect form. Trying to maintain his composure, he clapped his hands and said, not bad, but anyone can do a few deadlifts. Let us see how you handle something that requires real endurance." Ryan gestured toward the punching bag in the corner of the gym. "How about some cardio? You look like you might know your way around a punching bag. Or is that too much for you?" Jason set the barbell down and turned toward the punching bag. There was a flicker of something in his eyes, something that made the crowd lean in with anticipation. He walked over to the bag, adjusted his stance, and raised his fists. The stage was set for the next level of this confrontation, and the gym-goers could hardly wait to see what would unfold next. Jason had handled the mockery with grace so far, but everyone sensed that things were about to get a lot more interesting. The gym-goers were now fully invested in the drama unfolding before their eyes. Ryan, still determined to maintain control of the situation, stood by the punching bag with a smug grin. "All right, let us see if you can keep up," he said, throwing a few exaggerated punches at the bag. His strikes were more showy than effective, but they drew some scattered applause from his loyal followers. Jason watched quietly, his expression unchanged. He stepped forward, taking his place in front of the bag as Ryan stepped aside. The crowd leaned in, expecting an average display at best. After all, Jason did not seem like the loud, showy type who might know his way around a gym. But the moment Jason's fists connected with the bag, the atmosphere in the gym shifted. His punches were sharp, precise, and devastatingly fast. Each strike echoed through the room like a drumbeat, the sheer power of his movements impossible to ignore. Jason alternated between punches, elbows, and kicks, demonstrating not just strength, but a level of skill that left the onlookers in stunned silence. The more Jason worked the bag, the clearer it became that he was no amateur. His movements were fluid, almost like a choreographed dance, but with the undeniable intensity of someone who had trained for years. Sweat began to glisten on his brow, but his focus remained unwavering. Ryan's smug grin faded as he watched Jason's display. He crossed his arms, trying to mask his growing discomfort. All right, he said loudly, breaking the silence. Not bad for a warm-up, but speed is one thing, power is another. Jason stopped and turned to face Ryan. His expression was calm, but there was a subtle intensity in his gaze. Without saying a word, he stepped back to the bag and positioned himself. With one explosive kick, he sent the heavy bag swinging wildly, the chain creaking under the force. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ryan's jaw tightened. Okay, tough guy, he said, his voice less confident than before, but this is not a boxing gym. Let us get back to the weights. Show me what you have got with something serious, something no one here would dare attempt. The gym-goers exchanged glances, unsure of how Ryan would recover from this. Still, they followed him and Jason to the weightlifting area, eager to see what challenge he would devise next. Ryan pointed to a squat rack loaded with an intimidating amount of weight. How about this? He asked, his tone almost challenging. Think you can handle it? Jason approached the squat rack, inspecting the barbell as if calculating something in his mind. The crowd watched with bated breath, expecting him to either rise to the challenge or finally admit defeat. But Jason, as always, remained calm. He stepped under the bar, positioned it across his shoulders, and slowly lifted it off the rack. His movements were deliberate, his strength evident in the ease with which he handled the weight. As he began his first squat, the gym fell silent once again. Each repetition was executed with perfect form, his muscles working in harmony to handle the incredible load. By the time Jason racked the barbell, the crowd erupted in applause. Ryan, now visibly flustered, tried to hide his embarrassment. Not bad, he mumbled, his earlier confidence nowhere to be seen, but anyone can lift weights. Real fitness is about endurance and agility. Jason did not respond to Ryan's comment. Instead, he walked over to the pull-up bar. Without a word, he gripped the bar and began a series of pull-ups that left no doubt about his strength and stamina. He moved through different variations: wide grip, narrow grip, and even one-handed pull-ups with a level of ease that had the crowd cheering louder with each set. Ryan, desperate to regain control of the situation, called out, "All right, that is enough. Let us wrap this up with a real challenge. You think you are tough? Let us see how you do with some battle ropes." Jason walked over to the battle ropes, picking them up without hesitation. He began with steady waves, his rhythm smooth and controlled. Then, in a sudden burst of energy, he switched to slams. The ropes struck the floor with thunderous force, a display of raw power and endurance that left everyone in awe. As Jason finished and set the ropes down, the crowd erupted into cheers and applause. Ryan, unable to hide his frustration, stepped forward as if to say something, but the look in Jason's eyes stopped him. It was not a look of anger or arrogance, just quiet confidence and undeniable composure. The gym-goers, now completely on Jason's side, began to question Ryan's earlier behavior. Whispers spread through the crowd as they realized that Jason's humility and skill far outshone Ryan's bravado. The trainer, once the center of attention, now seemed small in comparison. The stage was set for the climax, where Jason's true strength would be revealed, and Ryan would finally be forced to confront the consequences of his arrogance. The tension in the gym had reached its peak. Ryan had tried everything: mockery, challenges, and bravado, but Jason had remained calm, letting his actions speak for themselves. Now, with the entire gym watching, Ryan was running out of ways to maintain control of the situation. Still refusing to back down, Ryan turned to the deadlift station. A loaded barbell sat on the ground, packed with plates that made even the strongest lifters think twice. "All right, hotshot," Ryan said, forcing a smirk. "This is real strength. Let us see if you can handle it." Jason stepped forward, his face unreadable. He looked at the weight, then at Ryan. Without a word, he positioned himself, adjusted his stance, and gripped the bar. The room fell silent, as Jason took a deep breath. tightened his core, and lifted the barbell. It rose smoothly from the ground. Jason's muscles tensed as he pulled the massive weight up with perfect form. His expression showed no signs of struggle, only control. He held the weight at the top for a moment before lowering it back down with the same precision. A stunned hush filled the gym. Ryan's forced smirk faltered. He had expected Jason to struggle, maybe even fail. Instead, Jason had executed the lift flawlessly, making it look effortless. But before Ryan could say anything, Jason stepped back up to the bar. He added more weight. Gasps echoed throughout the gym as Jason increased the challenge. The plates clanked as he secured them, the sheer weight now reaching an intimidating level. Even seasoned lifters in the room widened their eyes, realizing just how much strength this required. Once again, Jason positioned himself. His grip tightened, his focus sharpened, and then he lifted. The crowd erupted in cheers. The barbell rose smoothly once more, proving beyond a doubt that Jason was not just strong. He was in a league of his own. As he locked out the lift, even those who had initially sided with Ryan could not contain their admiration. Ryan, standing off to the side, had gone completely silent, but Jason was not finished. As the barbell settled back on the ground, Jason turned to Ryan. "You wanted to see strength," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Now let us see yours." A challenge, but this time it was not coming from Ryan. The trainer's face paled slightly. He looked at the weight Jason had just lifted and knew deep down that he could not match it. His hands fidgeted at his sides, his mind scrambling for an excuse. Sensing Ryan's hesitation, Jason did not press further. Instead, he turned to the onlookers. "Strength is not just about lifting weights," he said, addressing the entire gym. "It is about discipline, respect, and knowing when to push forward." The crowd nodded in agreement. Jason had not just proven his strength. He had taught everyone a lesson in humility. Ryan, meanwhile, was left with nothing to say. His confidence had crumbled, his usual arrogance replaced by uncertainty. Someone in the crowd finally broke the silence. "Wait a minute, that is Jason Statham." The realization spread like wildfire. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the gym as people connected the dots. The quiet, humble man they had underestimated was not just another gym-goer. He was an international action star, one of the most well-trained, disciplined actors in Hollywood. Ryan's eyes widened in horror. He had been mocking Jason Statham this entire time. The gym exploded into excited chatter. Some people pulled out their phones while others simply stood in shock. Meanwhile, Jason remained composed, offering a small smile as people recognized him. Ryan, now fully aware of his mistake, swallowed hard. His cocky demeanor was gone. He looked around, realizing that he had lost not just the challenge but the respect of the gym. Jason, however, did not gloat. He simply walked up to Ryan, extended a hand, and said, "Everyone starts somewhere." Ryan hesitated, but then, seeing the sincerity in Jason's eyes, he finally accepted the handshake. There was no gloating, no taunting, just an unspoken message of respect. And with that, Jason turned and walked toward the exit, leaving behind a gym full of people who had just witnessed something they would never forget. The gym was still buzzing with excitement. People whispered among themselves, replaying what they had just witnessed. Jason Statham had entered as just another gym-goer, but he had left a lasting impression, not just with his strength, but with his humility. Ryan stood frozen, his mind racing. Just minutes ago, he had been the dominant figure in the gym, the one who mocked others and demanded attention. But now he felt small, his usual cocky smirk replaced by disbelief. Jason's handshake had been more than just a gesture. It was an unspoken lesson. He had every right to humiliate Ryan in front of everyone, to throw his insults back at him, but he did not. Instead, he demonstrated grace, proving that true strength was not just about lifting weights, but about character. Ryan exhaled, his shoulders dropping slightly. The weight of the moment settled on him. He had spent the entire time trying to bring Jason down, only to realize that he had been standing in front of a man who had already mastered everything he pretended to know. A few gym members stepped forward, their admiration for Jason clear. "That was incredible," one of them said. "You did not even let his words get to you." Jason simply shrugged. "There is no need to prove anything with words," he said, Actions speak for themselves. The simplicity of his words hit Ryan harder than any insult ever could. Ryan finally found his voice. It was quieter this time, lacking the arrogance it had before. He hesitated, then sighed. I misjudged you badly. Jason gave a small nod but did not say anything. He was not looking for an apology. He had already moved past it. Ryan looked around at the others in the gym, then back at Jason. I should not have treated you like that, or anyone for that matter. His voice was sincere now. You are right. Strength is not just about lifting heavy. It is about respect. Jason studied him for a moment before offering a small, approving nod. Respect is earned, he said simply, and it starts with how you treat others. Ryan exhaled again, as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He had spent years building an image of himself as the toughest guy in the gym, but today Jason had shattered that illusion, not with insults or aggression, but with quiet confidence and overwhelming skill. Jason glanced at the time. He had not even come here to prove a point. He had just wanted a simple workout. With a final nod, he picked up his gym bag and made his way toward the exit. As he passed the front desk, the gym manager, who had been watching the entire scene unfold, gave him an appreciative smile. You handled that well, he said. Jason offered a small grin. It was just another workout, and with that, he walked out, leaving behind a gym full of people who would never view training or respect the same way again. As the gym settled back into its usual rhythm, the impact of what had happened still lingered. Everyone who had witnessed Jason Statham's response to Ryan's mockery had learned something valuable that day. Strength was not just about lifting heavy weights or showing off. It was about discipline, respect, and humility. Jason had every reason to lash out, to put Ryan in his place with harsh words or arrogance. But he did not. Instead, he let his actions speak, proving that true confidence does not require loud declarations. He had nothing to prove, and that was what made him so powerful. Ryan had started the day as a man who thought he knew everything, but by the end, he had learned one of the most important lessons of his life. It was not about being the strongest in the room. It was about how you treated others. Respect was not something you demanded. It was something you earned. For the gym members, this moment would stay with them. Many of them had admired Ryan's confidence before, but now they saw things differently. True strength was not about belittling others. It was about lifting people up. One of the younger gym-goers, who had often been nervous about working out in front of Ryan, felt a sense of relief. He realized that he did not need to be afraid of being judged. Jason's actions had proven that even the toughest individuals could be kind, and that confidence came from within, not from tearing others down. This story serves as a reminder for everyone. Never judge someone based on appearance, and never underestimate quiet strength. The loudest voice in the room is not always the strongest. Respect, patience, and humility will always prevail in the end. As Jason walked away from the gym, he did not seek applause or validation. He had done what he always did, stayed true to himself, and that, more than anything, was what left everyone speechless. If you liked this video, leave a like, subscribe, and help us bring you more exciting stories involving celebrities. Here you will be updated every day on the world of celebrities. See you soon.